I never imagined that one simple sentence could shift everything I believed about us. We've been engaged for almost 2 years, a steady rhythm of shared mornings, long midnight talks, and the occasional argument that always seemed to resolve itself before the night was over. But that evening, she looked at me with an unfamiliar detachment in her eyes. "Let's take a break," she said. "You're too emotionally attached." The words were soft, almost gentle, yet they hit with a weight that crushed the quiet confidence I'd built in our relationship. For a second, I wanted to protest, to explain that what we had wasn't dependency, but devotion. Still, something inside me stopped. I watched her carefully, the slight tremor in her lips, the flicker of hesitation in her gaze, and realized that nothing I said would change her mind. She needed distance. And maybe, in a way, I did too. So I agreed, calmly, without drama or pleading. No raised voice, no desperate attempt to hold her back. I simply nodded and said, "If that's what you need, I understand." She looked surprised by my composure. No panic, no manipulation, just quiet acceptance. And as I walked away from that conversation, I felt the faintest trace of relief, a strange, unexpected sense of clarity. The home we dreamed of building together suddenly felt heavier, filled with echoes of plans that no longer belonged to us. And yet, when I stepped out into the cool night air, I understood something new. Letting go of control doesn't mean losing strength. Sometimes, the greatest power is standing still in silence. The days that followed were calmer than I'd imagined. No frantic texts, no guilt-soaked messages, only space. Space that unsettled me at first, but slowly began to clear my thoughts. I kept my routines. I walked the same streets we once explored side by side, noticing how each familiar place felt a little different now. The cafe where we'd shared countless mornings still smelled of roasted coffee and chatter, but the seat she used to fill stayed empty. Once or twice, I saw her from afar, laughing with friends, lighter somehow, freer. I didn't feel anger or envy, just a quiet understanding, watching her move through the world as if she stepped out of the shadow of us. Like a leaf floating downstream, her path had simply drifted away from mine. Eventually, messages came. Short, hesitant, uncertain. She tried to explain herself, to justify the distance, admitting her fears and doubts that had little to do with me. I read them carefully, appreciating her honesty, but felt no urgency to reply. My silence wasn't punishment. It was peace, a way of drawing a line, of reminding both of us that love should never be wielded as control. Night after night, I reflected quietly. I began to understand that attachment isn't the same as devotion. Attachment clings. Devotion respects space. True love breathes through distance and trust. She had taken her step back. I had taken mine. And somehow, that separation felt like progress, not loss. Weeks slipped by. The break lasted longer than either of us expected. She reached out now and then, her tone lighter each time, like she was testing a connection that no longer belonged entirely to her. I read every message, acknowledged them, but didn't rush to respond. I let the silence exist, not as avoidance, but as respect. Then one afternoon, fate caught us off guard. We crossed paths at a mutual friend's gathering. She smiled, a genuine, gentle smile, and there was warmth in her eyes. No tension, no searching for explanations. I smiled back, steady and calm. We exchanged a few polite words. It wasn't reconciliation. It wasn't the start of anything new. It was simply recognition, an acceptance that what we once were had transformed into something quieter, something settled. As I walked away from that moment, I felt a calm I hadn't known even in our best days. The emotional attachment she once criticized had never been a flaw. It had been care, sincere, unguarded, and free of fear. And now, in stillness, I finally understood real emotional strength, patience, clarity, and the courage to release what no longer fits. Life moved forward easily after that. I returned to my routines, reconnected with old friends, revisited the parts of myself I'd neglected. Her decision to step back was hers to make, and mine was to hold my dignity, balance, and peace. Because sometimes love isn't about clinging tighter. It's about standing tall, letting the other person walk their path while you keep your own integrity intact. In the end, the break wasn't an ending at all. It was a quiet lesson, one I carried with me, steady and unspoken, a reminder that true strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it simply endures, calm, silent, and sure.